champions, big dragon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Full 40 with Trevor and Willie, the Emmy-nominated podcast. This week, we've been nominated for an Emmy for guy who was supposed to eat a sock and got away with it. No socks, baby. How we doing, Trev?
I don't even remember. I don't think I was a part of this. I think this was like a side bet with Tommy, or was this something that you declare? I don't remember. I don't want to remember.
My side bet with Tommy is completely different.
Okay.
Is it completely different?
Right.
I said this.
Oh, right. Tommy's side bet. So the stakes on the side bet with Tommy is that you'll eat, whoever loses has to eat the super hot chip.
Yes.
On the air.
And that chip,
that's whether or not Caravan gets drafted.
First round pick.
Not just gets drafted, a first round draft pick.
First round pick, yep.
Yeah,
this bet was made in
Willie's going to be
August. So
yeah, Willie's going to be eating the chip unless something crazy happens. But anyway,
if know how to evaluate, they'll do the right thing.
The Portland Trailblazers can save you if they're brave enough to do the right thing. But yeah, we had an 0-1 week. I think Marquette continues to own us.
Just as we all expected.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think many people were holding out hope on this one. We were pretty defeated before the game even started last week when we were talking about it. But yeah, I mean, just to get into that quickly, I can kind of tell, and this goes back a few years, like, and it would happen with Jay Wright teams too. It's like when the pace of the game starts that fast and kind of crazy, and you feel like we can't make the most of the possessions that we have, and it's one and done, and then the other side, they're just running down our throats and getting good shots, and guys who don't hit threes are hitting threes. It's like, okay, even if we dig out of this little hole that we have to start the game, like, I don't like where this is heading. And it just, that's kind of how it went. Down big early, came back, made it a game before halftime, and then again, like, just couldn't maintain the any sort of defensive intensity, and they kind of did whatever they wanted to. Like, I don't think there was ever like any doubt that Marquette was just kind of like guiding us along to the finish here.
We led at the 17:39 mark after Brick had hit a 3-pointer to make it 8-5, and never saw the lead again. It was.
I thought you were going to say in the second half.
Oh, no.
I missed the second half, and I was like, oh, wow. Like, okay, we went on a run but no, yeah. It
was pretty just controlling for Marquette the whole time. I don't even have like ridiculous analysis, but you can tell that this team has, I don't know. They weren't on their game in any stretch of their imagination.
No, and like, again, like, throwing passes at people's feet, Eric's forcing it.
Just had lazy.
Wuga's forcing
defense.
it.
Yeah,
Wuga didn't start. That was like the interesting thing. I get, his punishment for the ejection the previous game was probably that he was coming off the bench. Perkins, he did hit a shot.
He hit a three.
So now he's going to shoot like 70% the rest of the way. But yeah, he couldn't buy a bucket. When Wuga got in, he was kind of out of control. I thought he was trying to force it a little too much. There was just nothing happening within the natural flow of the offense. And it was just like, all right, pass the ball to this guy, let him dribble around and throw up an ugly shot.
There's two different ways I think like teams can respond to what we've been going through. And I think we've done it both this year. In the UConn game, we recognized the moment and we played above our heads to an extent, but like we played very well. We were organized. We weren't pressing. We rose to the moment. I think this was the same thing that they were trying to do versus Marquette, but we were pressing way too much And obviously, yes, being on the road at at Pfizer is going. It's we haven't won there in forever. That it's always tough,
Yeah.
even like with great Villanova teams. But I think they felt that pressure, and it was everybody trying to do a little too much. There was no cohesion, and then as Marquette snowball started snowballing, there was just bad communication, lazy efforts. It was if this was a like tournament team, you'd be like, all right, this is the bad loss you have in or in mid January. It happens. It just feels like sure we can write that off just as this, but like I think we're off the stage of like there's a larger thing going on that needs to like be like we need to be pulled together. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. I don't know if they'll pull it together. I don't even mean like I'm not even talking tournament. I'm just like, are we going to like right the ship after what's happened? Because frankly, like I will go on record and say this. I don't think we have played well since end of Butler, DePaul, UConn first half. I think we got away
Yeah.
with the second half of UConn. I think we were competitive with St. John's. That was a good game. I don't have really any issues with that in isolation. Everything else after that, I think, has been kind of piss poor, if I'm going to be really honest with ourselves. Like what we did versus George, how we finished versus Georgetown. Like, sure, I can find 8 minute stretches of games where we've played fine, but I just think as a whole, as a cohesive unit, we are seeing the holes, the loose pieces start to show up in what this team is.
Yeah, I mean, like, and again, over that stretch, the only bright spot I can really think of has been Longino.
Yeah.
He's consistently putting the ball in the basket. He eclipsed 20 points in the Marquette game, which Brian pointed out was the first time in the class of 2020 recruiting class that any player has scored more than 20 points. Longino ended with like 27 or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up. But career high for him. Only player in the class of it was Longino, Patterson, and Joku, and someone else. Brizzy. So again, like, you know, two of those guys transferred. One can't get healthy, doesn't play much when he is healthy, and then Jordan Longino, who is apparently the biggest what if in Villanova history, about his health and staying. You know, every announcer goes down the calling card of first off season that he was healthy, couldn't stay healthy. You know, quarterback. You know, tough kid. For it's just it's too little, too late, unfortunately. And yeah, that kind of like that opens up a bigger discussion kind of about Jay Wright's recruiting towards the end of his career. Like that's a whole other side conversation that we could probably have just about he really leaned heavily on the guys that he had there for the last couple seasons. It was obviously Colin Gillespie, Jermaine Samuels, and get out of the way. And he had nice complementary players that were kind of homegrown. And then his last couple of classes were not what I think we all expected and hoped for. But, you know, that's a whole other conversation.
And I think, like, just as a part of that, like, I think there's part of the equation was probably COVID messed up his summer recruiting, but stuff was messed up before.
Right.
Even though NIL wasn't really a thing yet, the tides were starting to turn in that way.
Plus, we were paying everybody under the table.
Yeah, also people being paid under the table. And now that it was coming above board, Jay said, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then I just like want to go back to like one thing. And this is kind of been over the last 6 games, we've gone 2-4. There's no blame I'm throwing here at Eric. Like, I'm not blaming anything at Eric, but he has had and it's like what I'm about to say is hilarious because
it's conference play now.
It's conference
these
play.
are opponents that know you and your game plan.
He's shooting 38% from the field. He's shooting, this is where it's way worse. He's shooting 37% from 2-point range. So he's not making 2-pointers. He's still shooting 40 from 3. So he's fine from a 3-pointer.
I mean, but that's still a 10% dip from where he was as of end of December?
He's averaging 21, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 turnovers, and it's obviously
Turnovers seem
20.
low
Yeah,
to me.
yeah. Obviously, 21 and 5 is still really good. Like from anybody, that's good.
Yeah.
But it's not what we need from him for us to be where we want to be. And at the end of the day, like it was a lot, and it still is a lot to ask Eric to even put up the 21 and 5. That's still a lot. He's a fantastic player. That's not what this is a referendum on. It's just you can see he's taken a dip in efficiency because once again in Big East play, these teams know how to defend him better. I haven't even gone to like fully Big East play. I'm gonna look at the numbers for just Big East play now.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing about that, and I think we all sort of saw it coming at the end of it was like, okay, if it's always a big if, when you're averaging that many points. Okay, what happens when you play these teams and these coaches that can develop a plan just around you? We always knew the strategy is going to be okay, make anybody else beat you. And some teams would be more successful at it than others. Marquette, St. John's, UConn, these teams have the horses to make things, even Georgetown to an extent, their best players are bigger players. So it's like,
don't put a big on him. You put a bigger wing on him and you have
yeah,
him get under him. When he backs you down, you throw 2 at him. As silly as it sounds, you let him take 3-pointers because that's where like he will kill you from there. But like where he really hurts you is when he gets into the paint and he starts getting free throws and he starts scoring easy buckets.
yeah, and that's what's just not happening anymore. Like,
It's not, yeah.
it's like it's not that some of the shots aren't there. Like when they are there, they're bad. They're not falling well. But and then there's some that there's like no earthly reason to take that shot.
Yeah.
And he's just throwing it up. And a
And
lot of
he's
that with
forcing
some
it,
of
yeah.
these threes from like 28 feet. And it's like, okay, maybe, you give the 50% 3-point shooter the basketball, that's sometimes the best shot you're going to get. But, he's like stepping into NBA range extended threes. And it's like, I don't know if that can't be the offense.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, he's getting mugged by 3 guys and he just throws one up off the backboard, misses everything. Our offensive rebounds have been kicking up, but we're still not ending those sequences with a basket. So it's just like it's not a recipe for success, especially when you start playing these teams second time around and into the Big East tournament when you'll get somebody for a third time.
Brian, you should make this the episode title name. It's not a recipe for success. I just think that should just be it, because that's just nothing we've done over the last 6 games, whatever. It's not a recipe for success. We're not advancing anywhere. We're not building
towards anything.
We're not building towards anything, which obviously then brings the question of, well, what are we about to do? Which that's a whole. We'll have time to talk about that. But yeah, there's not really much to say about this Marquette game because frankly, it was also like Marquette did what they were supposed to do. They're a better team. They're a top 10 team in the country. They were at home.
Yeah.
They did what they're supposed to do. I think we called out before Stevie Mitchell being a player who's going to kill us because he always finds a way to. He had like 21, timely everything because kid's a winner. And that's just what it is. Like Stevie Mitchell's going to make a huge play in the Sweet 16 for Marquette. That's just what's going to happen. Or maybe I'll say round of 32. Who knows what could happen? But I'll say round of 32. But yeah, I mean, they just did what they needed to do. Full stop. That's just basically it. They got better bench play than I expected from Lowry and Parham, but like that's about it.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it seems like every year we're the catalyst for one of their bench guys to just like soar. Because I've been seeing big things from Lowry the rest of the week, and I think he had another good game the other night. But it's just like, all right, what role player's turn is it to light us up and then catapult the rest of their season?
Shall we talk a little bit about Creighton?
Yeah, we got the rematch.
The rematch, baby. That's my new thing. I want to start ad-libbing in the middle.
Yeah. So we got a rematch from early December, late December, I guess. The first Big East team we're playing the second time. Yes.
Yeah, this is our first.
Have them at home. Last year, lost on the buzzer beater. I think they are healthy. Well, the last time we had played them, Isaacs had just gone down and out. They had just gotten their European guy cleared, who's I would assume his condition is up and he's been playing. But I don't know if it's going to be a whole lot different than just like the Kalkbrenner Ashworth show.
I'm not expecting anything different. That's just generally what they've done. Creighton's kind of, I don't want to say turned a corner, but there was a point where I was like, oh, it might not look great for them after losing to Alabama. They lost to Georgetown. Georgetown's obviously better than we thought. And then they've ripped off, what is it, 5 straight?
They're back in the top 25 this
Yeah.
week, I think.
They've ripped off 5 straight. They have Xavier before us, so we'll see what they're coming off of, but they have them at home. I'm seeing right now, at least on T rank, we're projected to win by 1. So that's fun. I haven't gone to kennethpomeroy.com yet. I'm going to check that out too. But I mean, it's going to be the Ashworth and Kalkbrenner show. I think Mason Miller's been playing pretty decent, or like he's been starting to play a little bit better, I should say. I mean, he had like 2 points last game, so it's not like anything huge, but I feel like he's slowly been coming into his own. Even though like it's not like on the box score at all, which is weird. But regardless, between I believe his name is Zujic, is the big guard that they got who was eligible to play somehow.
Yeah,
he played. He's been playing like pretty decent. He had 9 points versus Seton Hall. It's going to be the Ashworth and Kalkbrenner show. Ashworth at the end of the game in December, there was like a little bit of chippiness between him and somebody. I can't remember who
like
it was.
Talking to Nana, I think, of all people. Like it was weird.
Yeah. So we'll see if that carries over, but Nana's not going to be playing. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I think what he's got a wrist or a hand injury or something.
Yeah.
Now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Bummer.
I think a lot will just depend. Like, how does Creighton decide to defend Eric? Which
everyone Eric is there.
Yeah. Everyone knows how to defend him. Creighton, I don't think. I mean, they have a bit of the wings to do it, but like they're not key offensive players for them. If they put Kalkbrenner on Eric will exploit that. If they put Trout on Eric will exploit that. So who do you put on him?
And we kind of go back to it again. It's like which Wooga shows up, which Brickett shows up. This Brickett's going to be timid and throwing the ball at people's feet. You know, it ball security the last month, you know, like you said, on that losing streak, like it's just been horrible. So if little
narrative. I think I'm doing the math right here. This is at Wells Fargo, correct?
Yes.
This is the first Wells Fargo Saturday tailgate game of the year.
And it also coincides with the first game that I will go to this year. So we'll see what happens.
Cats by 40 then? Like, I don't know. Like, it just might be happening.
Look, I won't rule it out. Like, this could be one of those weird ones where you just shoot the barn doors off everybody. Yeah. But and for, you know, like I said, Perkins is due to make his next like 53s. So, you know, why not Saturday?
And like, I don't know, like larger things, like you won't rule it out. And I agree. And maybe I'm feeling wrong about this. And like anybody, you know, hop in the mentions, hop in whatever, say however you feel about it. I feel like I'm at the stage where like I need 4 straight wins to get back on the horse. Like really start to get back on the horse of excitement. That's just where
I got to see who our next 4 are.
It's Creighton. It's not even. It doesn't even matter who they are, but it's Creighton, DePaul, Xavier, St. John's.
Oh, I need more than that.
And like I need that. And like so, this Creighton
Providence is after St. John's. We got to show up in Providence.
Yeah. The Creighton, like let's say we beat Creighton, like just in the vacuum, I'm gonna be like, all right, well that's fine. We've kind of squandered all momentum, and we have to begin to take it back if we're going to do anything.
Yeah, we're getting into the schedule that I outlined last episode where you know we just ruined all chances in January because we went 2-4 or whatever we did. I think we went 2-4.
2-4, basically.
If you add the last 2 games of December, then we're 4. Yeah. Or 4-5. But yeah, you lose this one, or even if you win this one, it's like, okay, now you get a little bit of the false hope where it's like, oh, okay, you see the path, the spreadsheet comes out, and it's like, okay, we just have to do this, and this, and then you'll win like the next 2, drop the next 4, and then you'll convince yourself in the final week of the season that there's a chance other than winning the Big East tournament. and then you'll lose in the second round game, and it won't matter.
And like I don't know, like I'm gonna always say maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're
No, I
wrong,
obviously look. I
but
hope
it's
I'm
just
wrong.
been
Like
it's been 3 years of it.
I
Yeah,
obviously want the team to win, but I'm just outlining a pattern that we've seen the last two
yeah,
seasons and what's happening now. Like
yeah.
I don't want to be the negative guy. I think where we're at right now is closer to apathy than negativity, and
I
I
would
think that's worse.
I would say
Um,
100% we're at apathy. I don't think anybody's being truly negative at this stage.
no, and I think that like unfortunately, like the fan base, I think is largely on the same page of it. It's just like I'm tired, and like I'm not getting up for this anymore,
Yeah,
and that's much worse. It's a much worse place to be. Ask Georgetown, ask St. John's, ask anybody that has had the. I'm not going to say DePaul, but like I'm
yeah,
talking about teams that had like Georgetown. You know, it wasn't too long ago that they were getting upset by Florida Gulf Coast, and then all of a sudden it was like basement dweller.
yeah,
And it's, those were good teams in the early 2000s, 2010s, and then all of a sudden it's just like this program. Like when they beat us the other day, that was their first quad one win in years. Like that can't happen. It's just, and we can have this conversation till we're blue in the face, but it's just like, it's not going to happen mid-season. It won't. But something needs to happen, and we'll see how everything kind of changes after that, if anything changes.
yeah.
Ryan Archidiak, and I wasn't walking through that door to coach the team. I saw he was sitting next to Baker.
Yeah, can we drop that? What, like whoever
Yeah,
said it.
it was a joke. Like
Oh, was it? I don't know. I just saw it and I was
no, I
like,
was joking. I was like,
oh, was that you who started it?
I didn't start it. I
Oh
just
no,
said
I mean the person who actually said it. I saw it on Twitter
what that he
that
was.
Arch that that we should hire Arch. I've seen that
Oh,
before.
I
Not
mean,
you specifically. Yeah.
people say it all the time, but it's like, they wanted to hire Arch when Jay retired at 80, and Arch had been, like that was people's dream of him after he was done playing, coaching, and being on Jay's staff, and Jay retiring at 85 and handing the keys to Ryan. But it's like, no, I made the joke because we see him sitting next to Baker, and it's like, oh, they're tough. No, Ryan is
Oh no,
playing
yeah.
is on the G League Bulls team, so he's like in town, quote unquote.
It
So he
has
went to the
nothing
Nova
to do
game.
with nothing to do with like you're saying. I was just more of like,
No, no,
yeah,
no. And then my joke was like, okay, how many years would you give him hypothetically? He's never coached a game in his life at any
that's
meaningful level. Like
yeah.
how many years would you give him? And people are
If
like, I give him all, and it's like, nope, St. John's, Georgetown. We just watched this happen twice
if
with,
you're gonna keep if you're gonna hire Arch, just keep Kyle and let him figure it out
yeah.
6 years down the line, like at that stage. Like
Yeah. Make him
uh,
hire Arch's associate head. And that, yeah, no, no, it was a joke. It was very interesting to see where some people fell on the spectrum of Arch's chance, uh, life expectancy as a head coach at Villanova with no previous experience. But whatever.
let's
Get that out of the way.
let's get into some fun stuff.
Yeah, let's roll an ad, and then we're going to do a couple of drafts to make us feel better about our favorite program.
Yeah, I said get eight, baby, get 'em. I'm about to get 'em.
Field ad read that I wrote completely, and this is completely scripted by me, not anything else used by the internet to write a home field ad read because I just didn't want to make it up off the top of my head. Here we go. Hey, Villanova fans. Tired of wearing the same old merch that feels like Jay Wright's suit, stiff and overpriced? Enter home field apparel. Vintage designs, softer than a Big East defense on Chris Jenkins 3. And guess what? We've got a deal to make your wallet feel like it just won the big dance. Use promo code Nova Insider at checkout for 15% off your first order. That's Nova Insider because looking good while repping the cat should be easier than beating Georgetown. Home field apparel where comfort meets championship vibes.
Yeah, I said get eight, baby, get 'em. I'm about to get 'em.
Well, if it isn't the consequences of your own actions coming back to bite you on that one.
Well.
A little harder to beat Georgetown than we thought, I guess.
Do you know, like, I know they came out with a quarters app. Have you gotten that yet?
No, I didn't. I have, I did a Christmas order for my for home field, and I've been I ordered it too late, so I think the box is sitting in my apartment unopened because I haven't been home. But
I'm supposed to have a gift from a Secret Santa person coming in, and it's been like a bit.
oh,
So
Willie's moving like tomorrow, everybody. So he's not getting the Secret Santa. It's going to be a secret for a long time.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have 2 fun drafts that we decided to do today. One of them is going to be we're going to pick like I think I'm going to go with our all-time favorite moments. Doesn't necessarily have to be a game, can be like a play. We have disqualified March Madness. Big East tournament is still fair game, but there aren't too many rules to this, obviously. But
that's nice, Brian.
We're just keeping Big East, March Madness out of it, because obviously, everybody's favorite moments, I would assume, are Dante dropping 31, Chris Jenkins, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Not here to talk about that. Let's get some deep cuts.
This is going to be so chaotic.
Yeah, Willie has promised something insane, as he does for all of our drafts. Like we sit and talk about a great idea beforehand, and Willie's going to come out with, well, this guy did this with a broken finger in 2007, and then he played 17 minutes in the NBA, and he's on my favorite Polish national team. So that's why, so-and-so having this steal against Butler is my favorite. But, I digress. It doesn't matter to me who goes first. How many moments did you guys write down? You want to do 4?
We'll go for it.
Brian, how about you take the number 1 pick? I'll sit in the middle on this one.
Which one do you want to do first? The moments or the?
We're going to do moments first.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to take one that's probably on all of our lists because the other ones I have aren't. So I'm going to go with Gillespie scoring 33 at Providence and killing them with that dagger 3.
Yeah.
I had gotten in a fight on Twitter leading up to that game too with this kid who was tweeting like 5 hours before the game. And then after the game, he wasn't tweeting. So I was worried his phone died. So I just kept tweeting at him. And then he challenged me to a fight at Madison Square Garden. A couple weeks later, I tweet at him. I'm like, "Are you here?" He's like, "No, I'm in Punta Cana." And I was like, "Okay, fair." Like, I liked that back and forth.
That's where he thought Madison Square Garden was.
He thought I was going to forget, and I was like, "Look,
no, of course
I'm here
not.
to fight."
Brian's not the one to forget.
Yeah. So that, if I'm not mistaken, is when it was like 82-80 game. Colin gets the ball. For some reason they went under the screen.
Yeah.
And instead of dishing to Jermaine on the wing, where Jermaine screens, goes over to the side. It's a classic Colin Jermaine play that they made a lot of baskets off of. But for some reason they go under the screen. Colin has a wide open 3 and just drains it. And it was the Providence. It was their pink out. I guess it was around Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I have the date right here.
That was a great game.
Yeah. I was in the building for that one, and that was, I think the Providence was insane. Like, I mean, it always is, but like the fans it was one of the best atmospheres I've ever been in. Shout out to Providence, top 3 city in America. That's from something on Twitter. I don't actually believe that, but yeah, it was an insane moment. It was the second they went under, I started yelling because I was like, Colin's about to drill this. Took their hearts away. Yeah, I had it on my list. It was one of those ones. I was like, I'm not going to get this one. I
didn't even have it on my list. I knew I wasn't going to I wasn't going to decide to take the first pick, so I didn't have it on my list.
All right, so
my first pick, coincidentally, is also a Villanova Providence game. It is the 2018 Big East Championship game, the Ed Cooley ripped pants game, which went to overtime, but it was back and forth all game. The moment specifically I'm talking about is the broken play, Mikal Bridges 3. Jalen lost the ball at the top of the arc. Mikal scrambles, gets it, pulls it as the shot clock's coming down, drained it. We go on to win in overtime on I think we pulled him in overtime. That might have been in overtime actually. But that was, Ed Cooley's coaching with a Gatorade towel around it, tucked into his pants.
That's just basketball, baby.
He ripped his pants in the first half. Just an electric game. It was so much fun to be, a great Big East tournament altogether, but that was an awesome championship game. The McHale broken three, Gus Johnson had like the scream where he just loses it halfway through. And yeah, that game ends with like a Jalen Brunson dunk. So anytime Jalen gets to dunk in a game, it's a pretty big deal. All you, Willie, give us two.
Is it okay? So we're doing two. All right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start a little chaotic here. The years 2012, 2013. It's the second game.
Is it the Dominique Cheek buzzer beater?
No. It's the moment that I knew this program was turning around. We're facing Marshall in the Wells. It wasn't at the Wells Fargo. It was at the Pavilion. At the Pavilion, Ryan Arcidiacono, 25, 27 points in his second college game, and I said, "We have a leader. We have a leader."
It was right before the loss to Columbia, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Also true.
The best part about that is he wore like a baggy full sleeve shirt under his jersey.
Yep.
And I made fun of him to Javon Pinkston, who replied to me, I'm not going to use the words he used, but he was like, "Don't say shit about him." Fair. I was like, okay. So okay. Yeah.
It was just, I just remember watching that game and being like, this kid's real. This kid can do it. And yeah, Arch did it for us. That one. Yeah. So that was my first, like, I'm going to go back and forth between insane and like a little bit more normal. So that's one.
I don't call that insane.
I think that's actually a good, like, I don't think either of us would have picked it. I think it's a good pick.
Yeah.
Other one, also 2018 Big East tournament final versus Providence. There's a little flurry. McHale gets a putback.
Oh, are we allowed to double up on games?
I think so.
I want to hear what Willie's saying. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
It's a completely different moment. McHale gets a little flurry. He gets a putback. Then he has like a straightaway three to make it like 56-53. Providence gets the ball. They drive downfield. Jalen Lindsey drives. He bounce passes it to Reggie Bullock. Eric Paschal turns around and absolutely fucking erupts and blocks Bullock's shot up against the backboard, sends Bullock into the crust of Madison Square Garden. Now, on the other end, Jalen Brunson did commit an offensive foul, which kind of was a cheap call. But that block that Paschal did was without a doubt the meanest Villanova basketball play I can think of the last like 25 years. Put that shit into like absolutely destroyed it. Eric was hype. Jay was hype. Like it was this weird moment.
Non-tournament, yes, I would agree with you.
Yes. Well, yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Eric had some moments in the tournament.
Yeah. True. Oh yeah. The Kanate dunk, all that stuff. But that moment lives. That's one of my favorite Villanova moments ever. That block. Loved it.
A side note to that Kanate, I know we're not going to talk about those, but the year I worked for the Sixers at halftime of the Sixers Warriors game. This was Eric's rookie year, so he's with the Warriors, and they brought at the time Chris Heck, Peyton Heck's walk on. Chris Heck's his dad. He was the president for the Sixers. So Omari's family and or maybe it was just Paschal's family at the time. I forget if Omari had been traded yet. But they come in for at halftime to this lounge area, and he's wearing a Villanova thing. So I went over and introduced myself. And he said, Eric has said that West Virginia game. Before I could even finish, he goes, "That was a man's jam," and he just walked away. My next one, I thought this is where you were going, Willie, but the Arches Syracuse game. That flurry at the end to tie it and send it to overtime.
The 2013 game.
Which one?
Yeah, was that the same week that they beat Louisville?
Yes, that was 2013. 2013.
He hit the three to tie it. And then we won in OT.
Yeah.
Won in overtime.
But there's another
like broken play, Pinkston grabs the ball, hits it, gives it to him, rebound, gives it back to him, and bang, corner three to tie it, win in overtime. It's when Syracuse wins mattered, all time. And then if I could cheat and tie it into like we beat Louisville that week too, that was like when that was my moment of like, oh, the program's back. But yeah,
you weren't paying attention versus Marshall, baby. I saw it then.
I was not.
Yeah, it was James Bell missed the three.
Yeah.
Instead of going right up with it, Pinkston kicks it right out. Yeah.
Yes, just awesome.
Kicks it
Pinkston
back.
was like an all-time garbage man.
Yeah,
And I mean that in the nicest way possible.
for sure. So my number 2, and this again, it's another Colin Gillespie. I hated his comparisons to Arch for the first 2 years. I was like, well, they're white, but nothing about their game is
Italian.
similar. Right. And when we were playing Kansas in 2019, and the game was fucking over, and he dove, stole the ball, hit the 3. We're back in the game. He passes up the game winner to Samuels, who was not shooting well all game. Samuels took the ugliest.
It was the same play as the Providence shot that you just talked about.
Right. He kicked his foot out, but I yelled no when Samuels took the shot. And he made it. And the girl that I went to the game with goes, "Why'd you yell no?" I go, "Well, he's been missing shots all game, and Collins made them all." And I don't understand.
Yeah. No, that was my number 1 pick, Brian, before.
Yeah, the diving on the ball, like the game was over. We lost. We were down 6-5, and he just steals the ball. Embiid was sitting right under the basket.
Yeah. No, that was a great game. I went with a bunch of my cousins, and one of them fell asleep in the student section because he was up till 5 a.m. writing a paper for a final or something, and was asleep in the stands. Whoever was next to him thought he was drunk and asleep, and was recording him for the entire second half. And by the time I realized, I just grabbed the kid's phone. So, "Oh man, what do you know?" I was like, "You just took 20 minutes of video, my cousin. I'm not going to give you your phone back." I was like, "Delete it right now and go to your recently and clear. I'm throwing your phone into the stand. I don't care. I'll just throw it behind me. Good luck." So got that footage erased. But yeah, great game. Mikey fell asleep. Anyway, your next pick, Brian.
This is one none of you will have, but in 1999, we beat Georgetown at Wells Fargo Center, and my favorite player at the time, Jermaine Medley from Delaware, hit a buzzer beater 3 as a sophomore. Brian Lynch, I had to look this up to remember the date, but I just remember being there with my mom, so my dad was out of town, and it was cool to see a buzzer beater right in front of my seats. So that's
a good one.
My next is, I think it was 2014, Villanova, Michigan it was either MSG or it was at Barclays.
It was Barclays.
But Javon Pinkston shoved the basketball back down the Michigan dude's throat off the inbounds under the basket. Dunk, layup attempts, whatever, just stuffed him into oblivion. Game sealing ish play. It was crunch time, and we were kind of trading baskets, but massive stop. Again, Pinkston, can't say enough about him.
All right. So I'm going to go, what do I want to do? Oh boy, there's so many different things in my heart. Maybe I don't do the chaotic one.
Do the chaotic one. You have 2.
Well, I'm going to go the one close to my heart. Dante buzzer beater versus UVA.
UVA, yeah.
That entire UVA game, just this moment. And honestly, I want to take the kind of adjust it to that entire kind of run we went on. But specifically the buzzer beater, where we were down 10. Both Jenkins and Hart couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. It was McHale and a lesser Jalen who kind of kept us around into it. And then
Kyle Guy was on fire that
Guy
day.
was killing us. Dante could not guard Jerome. Ty Jerome was killing him. And it had then that flurry around the 8-minute mark where Jenkins hits a 3, Hart hits a 3. Then there's one of my favorite moments also is the Dante goes on a fast break. It's a tie up. So they call jump ball. It's our ball. We inbound from the baseline. It's a quick pass to Jenkins for 3. And he hits it to bring us within 1. And the Wells Fargo Center exploded. It was such a fun game. And then to top it off with Dante, who kind of played like shit that entire game, just getting that buzzer beater was just so much fun. That game was a lot of fun for me.
I got to shoot the t-shirt cannon that game.
Oh, you were the t-shirt cannon.
It was they had just gotten a Gatling gun version of the t-shirt cannon, and I was there working, not anything else. And I got to shoot it. And I have a cousin that went to UVA, and he sent it. I got to he started getting phone calls and stuff. It was like, I think Trevor's shooting the t-shirt gun in like the family group chat, kind of blowing up. And it's just like a picture of me on the Jumbotron with
Does that thing have recoil?
No recoil. It did break like the very next game. We used it probably 3 times. Somebody donated a lot of money, and it was like an epic fail after the UVA game.
Did it belong to Villanova or did it belong to Wells Fargo?
Villanova, somebody bought it and like donated it to Villanova, or donated the money for Villanova to buy it. And then there were just issues always surrounding it, but that was fun. If you go to the Davis Center and look up Nova Nation fan moments, there's still the picture of me standing on a chair after Dante hits that shot, freaking out when I was supposed to be working. So we'll always have that.
I like that.
All right.
This is my final pick, or you have another? You have another one.
Willie's got one more. Yeah.
Oh crap! Yeah, I forgot it's 4. Oh boy, this changes a lot.
We can do honorable mentions after.
No, I'm gonna be chaotic. It's okay. Okay, no, we're gonna do honorable mentions because I think this one shouldn't count, and this one's one of my.
Why wouldn't you do the one that doesn't count for the honorable mention?
That's what I'm about to. Yeah, I realized that because I was like, wait, that technically happened during March Madness. Darren Hilliard buzzer beater versus Butler, Valentine's Day 2015.
That was my last one.
Be me, a senior at Villanova, who is seeing a certain somebody and is like, I'm going to go home for Valentine's Day and watch this game so I don't have to do a Valentine's Day thing. Is that indicative of my entire life and decisions I've made? Maybe, but who knows? I digress. But yeah, Arch passing up the 3 to Hilliard, just absolutely taking away their hearts. That was a game I remember. Like, I mean, I can remember where I was at for all these games, but I remember so vividly being at home with my brothers watching that game. At this stage, my brothers both went to Villanova, but they kind of just like to piss me off because they like to cheer against me and just piss me off. So they were cheering for Butler at that point, and that happened. And just like being able to yap in their face, and yeah, Hilliard hitting just a huge shot.
That was supposed to be my last one.
You should have told me to do the chaotic one then.
I know. Well, yeah, I had a weird perspective for that game because I forget where I guess I was driving to the shore. And when we got there, like the cable wasn't working or something. So I listened to the game like on the radio or something. It was bizarre. I had like an iPad and I was listening to it on the radio. And then I finally got like a video feed, but I didn't see it until after I had heard it.
Big Ryan fan in hours.
Yeah. Like it was bizarre. I'm sitting there like around the kitchen counter, just like freaking out. And you hear, Arcidiacono has a shot, a pass to Hill, and then, whatever. But it was, that was Cats win it all.
That was a pretty good the first one was a pretty good impression.
Yeah. I could pull one of those out of my belt every now and then.
You should do that more.
My last one is Big East Tournament 2022, I think. UConn game. Turnover after UConn scores, or maybe it was we stopped them, whatever, going up the turnover. They have a one-on-one with Slater, I guess, in the back. Slater had been the inbounder. And he absolutely pins it to the backboard, or he just stuffs it to the to the next day. It was it was either going to be that or his dunk over at the pavilion on the Providence kid that he just sent him rocking. But yeah.
I had forgotten kind of about Slater, which is annoying because there's like 6 I could think of.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with another Providence for 2016. Darrell Reynolds, 19 or 20 points, 10 rebounds.
20 and
He played essentially the whole game, and I'm looking at the box score now. He had 2 steals, which I don't know where those come in.
You have the box score?
I have his stats.
What? So did he have a 20 and fit? Was it? 20
it was 19 and 11.
19,
I believe.
10, 2, 2, and 2.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember it being 19 specifically. But
in my mind, that blew up to like a 20 and 20 game.
Well, I mean, the 2 steals are crazy to me because, like, when was he like?
Yeah,
you're not usually stealing it in the paint.
No, somebody's back. You poke the ball away, you get credit with the steal.
I made a little mixtape for him because I wanted to. Every dunk he ever had was a monster,
and exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Yes,
behind his head.
And I asked
Down
him,
somebody's
he's like,
throat.
yeah, if I'm going to dunk it, I was like, that actually makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like, if you get the chance.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I don't have an honorable mention because
I have like another list of 7 on here.
Just
the one I
go
wanted,
Willie. Just
the
let
one I,
Willie cook.
yeah.
well, the one I wanted to say, it's kind of happened in March Madness. The year was 1971. Howard Porter signs.
That was vacated.
Howard Porter signs with the goddamn Pittsburgh Condors and gets us that vacated. And I was like, technically that happened in March, but like it didn't. That's my favorite Villanova moment. That's when I knew we could do big scandal. You know,
Yeah.
21 years before I was born.
That was so much better than the phone card scandal.
Honestly, yeah, that's like
That funny.
give us a
I
real
didn't
scandal.
get that as a kid. I remember asking my dad, I'm like, what is it?
I
He's
mean,
like,
that wasn't even a thing when I grew up. Like you hear about it, but it's like, what does that even mean?
My dad was like, they were using the office phone to call home, and I was like, okay. Sounds like because you're not on a cell phone, so you're sitting in the office. Like, it's nice the school lets them do that. Like, how's that a benefit?
Other ones, that one that I don't know if anyone remembers this. 2016 Big East tournament semifinal.
Jenkins dunk.
Yes, the
Jenkins
reverse
whip throw.
Yes, the Jenkins reverse dunk. That was the other one I wanted to get.
I didn't know Jenkins could jump that high, dude.
Yeah. That was a big one for me. And then like Jermaine's 29 versus Marquette, which was like, what the fuck is going on? Like that was
Jermaine. I had a few Jermaine on my list that didn't make it. Like he had a dunk against Creighton at Creighton that again, in my mind now he takes off from like a foot within the free throw line, but it's really just like right outside the restricted zone, but goes up and over one or two guys. Jermaine had a lot of great highlights.
Yeah.
Same with Slater. A lot of these, Caleb Daniels had a crazy block against Ohio State in that Elite Eight game. Yeah, a lot of fun moments with those recent guys.
The Wooga Poplar punch up there. The Kyle Lowry punch.
Lowry punch. Isaiah Armwood punch. The what's his face from St. Joe's doing the double bird.
That honestly, that probably should have been one we said.
Yeah,
Khalil Kanasevich double bird.
Yeah, Mo Sutton just being Mo Sutton.
One of my favorite Mo Sutton memories is Nova got blown out once. I don't even remember the game, and this one reporter just wrote, "Oh, did Mo Sutton not play?" Like that's just so neat. Like it was Ruben Frank who like sometimes would cover Villanova, and I was like, asking if the eighth guy on the bench didn't play in a blowout is so rude.
Oh my god. Yeah, you've told me that before, and it kills me every time. I had to go on mute. Well, that was fun. Our next topic is one that I stole from an NBA podcast that Brian makes fun of me for listening to, called No Dunks. They have a segment called The Hall of Very Good, where they'll talk about players in the NBA who are very good, and maybe you can make a case, an argument for them to be in the Hall of Fame, but they probably won't get there for one reason or another, whether it's counting stats or lack of team success, whatever it is. For this version, I think we'll do players to get their jerseys retired.
Rafters.
Yeah. I don't care who goes. Like I don't care about the order here.
Let's do Trevor, Willie, then Nate. Because you've been in the middle for all the drafts, Trevor. So you get to.
I am going to. So some of these we might have to check and see if like they actually are retired. I tried to get a list. Villanova's list isn't current on their website, so I was going off Wikipedia.
I have a pretty good idea.
Okay. I am going to go with, for my first two picks, Mike Nardi.
You're going.
Oh, I know. I know. I said that wrong. Mike Nardi.
All right. Willie.
Nothing to say about Nardi.
I mean, look, very good player. Big East tournament. He's part of that. Foy and Ray already got there. Yeah, he was fourth fiddle to that team. The other three guards of that team are already retired. So he's there coaching. Maybe he gets there as a coach / player, but right now I don't see it exactly, given the criteria of everybody else that's been retired. So
I'm gonna go with one of my favorite players who I never watched, but I've always thought of like super fascinating. Rory Sparrow. So Rory Sparrow played 76-80 for us. Just like I always thought he was like basically I came upon him when I was like 10. And then I was like, who's this guy that played for Villanova?
So you've always had this disease.
Oh yes, it's
a weird on purpose thing.
It's been a thing. Yeah, I was born like this. Yeah, and I came across him when I was like 10, and I was just fascinated by Rory Sparrow. So like he's my favorite. Like what's that game called?
He's your Mike Nardi.
Yeah.
What years did he play? I've never heard.
He played 76-80. He played in the NBA for 12 years, which is how I came across him.
Yeah.
Had like a pretty decent NBA career. I didn't know this. He made 5 game-winning shots for Villanova from 76-80. He also, as an NBA side, scored the first basket ever for the Miami Heat, which I also didn't know till I did a little bit more of a deep dive on it. But I always just like I think
Villanova has a lot of like odd NBA fun facts, like first ever three-pointer.
First three-pointer,
yeah.
I must have had like a basketball card of his, and that's why I came across him. Because like I wasn't a Villanova fan yet, because my fandom was all like I was like, oh, Philadelphia stuff, and then eventually I leaned on Villanova. So Rory Sparrow.
All right. So I'm going to do what I did in the last draft. I'm going to take one that none of you were going to take, and I'm going to take one that all of you wanted to take. So Alvin Williams, my favorite player ever. We've talked about him. Played with the Kittles. But my second pick is going to be Javon Pinkston. And I think I did this on purpose. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I think we would all be able to argue him in. I just don't think he gets in. Which is the sad thing. But I think everyone of our age group remembers how important he was. He's the guy, like, if I was like, if you could give a ring to one of the guys who didn't win it, for me, it's him. A lot of people say Hilliard, which is fair, but for me, it's Javon. So then, Willie, you get to do your second.
No, yes. I don't know how the draft works.
Trevor,
you're like Chris. He's like, how does this work?
I'm used to being in the middle.
Right.
I'm gonna go with a player played in the mid to late, mid or like late 2000s. Shane Clark, like absolute like glue guy extraordinaire. Did everything that we needed to do. Will be remembered by the program by everybody, like whoever thinks about those teams. But like his name's not going to be in the rafters, but he deserves like in stuff like this. Like Shane Clark was fantastic.
Yep. Good. Now you're up, Trevor.
All right. Because you took Pinkston and I didn't expect him to be there after my first, I have James Bell. Similar situation. Kept the program afloat in those lean years before Arch got there and got to taste a little bit of that success before he left. And I'm going to go Pascal.
Yeah.
I don't think Pascal gets there.
Nah.
One of my favorites, classmate, my dad, his dad and I are friends. Obviously I told that story earlier. A lot of Pascal plays fit in our previous draft. And I just don't think he quite gets there just based off the criteria for what's up there now.
So in this moment, I have one. I don't really want to take it, but I might save it for the end just so we can talk more about it. Well, now I'm stumped because I didn't have a very big list for this one because I wanted to hit. Fuck, I'm gonna take this person. I'm gonna take Dante. He's not going to be retired. It's just not going to get retired.
So the only thing that I can and I have another player on my list that kind of fits his mold is like, I don't know if like people are kicking around like history books later and it's like, well, this guy, went off in 2018. I know that was like 35 years ago, but like we should retire Dante DiVincenzo's jersey. Like,
okay,
Howard Porter only got retired in 2019.
Yeah.
That was because he didn't exist, but
all right, well, that's why I was like, I don't know if this one. Yeah. Are we going to let it go, or should I pick a different one?
No, I think that's a good. I think that's a good pick. I think we all.
There's a chance. Look, he only played. You only play 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Or 3. What did he? 2 or 3?
Like 2 and a quarter.
He was there 3.
2 and a quarter.
Yeah.
But he'd have to have a Kyle Lowry NBA career to get retired.
Yeah, which right now he has an NBA championship, but that's not the trajectory right now.
Good NBA career, but like it's not gonna be.
Yeah. All right, so I am going to do my last two. We're going to do Curtis Sumter, another part of that
Also
Nardi
from
team. He
my
was the
list.
best player until his
Yeah.
midway through his sophomore year. Probably just doesn't have the personal body of work.
Maybe like the all-time greatest Villanova what if, besides like
Yeah.
That alters the trajectory of college basketball.
Yeah, no, for
Kind
sure.
of does,
He
yeah.
was always one of my favorites and fondly remembered by everybody, but just doesn't have the juice. And then the last one I'll do is John Celestin, who we've talked about before. He's a point guard in the Lapis era, played in the NBA. He was just fun to watch. I really liked him as a kid. Played for 4 years, was the best player for 2 of his teams, maybe 1.5. So, all right, Willie, your last pick.
All right, my last pick. We're just gonna go with. I'm gonna take another modern one because I'm not really sure. I'm gonna go Jermaine Samuels. I
think he gets up there.
You think he does? Okay,
I do, but I there's the debate makes total sense.
Yeah,
it'll be some time for sure.
He's probably another Dante type situation of like maybe.
I would say he's closer to like. I'm trying to find a name that I think like he is.
The 5 years is important. Coming back, getting that Final Four, being on the national championship team.
He's more of a the tricky thing with him is that he's more of like an intangibles guy than a counting stats guy.
That could go
that's
both
what's
ways
like
too, though.
I know that's what's like that's what is like hard to tell for sure with him. But he was definitely on my list.
Yeah, that's a good one. He wasn't on my list just because I think he's getting in, but
that's fair.
Then he's probably
that's why I think I took Pinkston off last minute because I was like maybe down the line, but my last one is like, well, it hasn't happened by now, so I don't think it's happening. But Harold Jensen, probably he played the Dante role in the 85 game, basically. Like didn't miss a shot off the bench if I'm correct, and maybe one. But
I didn't know he didn't start. That's interesting.
Yeah, came off the bench, jump shooter, isolation expert in 1985. But it's been 40 years and it hasn't happened. So I don't think it's happening. This list that I have on Wikipedia, the only 85 player retired is Pinckney.
Yeah, that makes sense though.
It doesn't not make sense given some of the other things that have come out with some of anyway, Jensen was my last. I have some honorable mentions to kind of throw out. All these like all of Jay's like two and dones basically, like Sadiq, JRE. I struggle with Dylan Ennis won't be there, but
with a transfer, I think it's
transfers are tough. I had Cunningham on my list.
See, I think Cunningham can get in. That's my.
You think he'll get there?
Yeah, I think he does too. He had a long NBA career, Final Four.
Yeah.
Will Sheridan was on my list.
I almost said Will Sheridan instead of Jermaine.
Yeah.
Fisher, Corey Fisher's another one I was.
Fisher.
Yeah. Just like in terms of like very good, but like the way everything happened, like there's not a chance he's gonna make it. But like
I had Corey Stokes too, same idea. They just they get lost because everybody after them was just much better.
Yeah.
Hilliard, if we didn't say Hilliard.
Yeah.
I think he has it's so like he's so close.
It's him and Javon. It's probably one or the other. I don't think
you think it'll be one or the other. They want to do both.
I mean, look, here's the thing. They could do as many as they want, and we could go on a terrible run where they just want excitement. Like that's why they kind of rushed the Brunson, Hart, Arch ones. Like that was to draw up positive attention. So it could turn into they just need stuff to celebrate. But I think if they're using whatever criteria they use, I don't know that you get both.
So
I don't know who else from like this most recent era that I would have like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously Colin he's in.
Colin's in.
Yeah, he's in whenever they do.
They just have to wait a little bit.
I mean, I think the debate, the Mendoza line for like is like, I know where Brian stands. It's Phil Booth.
Yeah, Phil Booth's in, dude.
But I don't know that they think
that's why he wasn't taken.
I don't know that they.
I could argue Phil Booth over Colin.
Yeah.
Like,
so the thing is, like, that's the thing about like the criteria. Like, he has a lot of counting stats. He was at the time he graduated, it was before these 5th and 6th year things kicked in. He was played the most games in Villanova history.
Yeah.
2 championships. Obviously, he has the Dante and Harold Jensen thing where he wins the game off the bench for us, basically. But that's forgotten because Chris hits a big shot.
The biggest shot.
I know. I'm not trying to undersell that, but it's just like, there's a reason that broadcasters for every game after that for the rest of Phil Booth's career said, "Did you remember he scored 20 points off the bench?" Because people forget. Because everybody forgets everything when somebody hits a buzzer beating 3 to win a national championship. But in my mind, he has to, like, he's in.
I think
he is such a perfect mix of counting stats and intangibles. Yeah. And he was he was the best perimeter defender on the team from after Josh in 16 and 17. And then for the rest of Phil's career, if he was locked in, I know his 5th year, he had to be the offense. So it wasn't as a defensively minded team. But yeah, I think Phil has to be up there eventually.
This is something I've done. I don't know if you know this, Willie, but Trevor's seen me do this. Anytime we run into any player that played with Phil Booth, I have one comment. And all of them have been like, wait, maybe. I've always said, is he the most skilled basketball player from the era? And they're always like, what? No, maybe. I'm like, just basketball. Not athlete, just basketball player. I think he's the smoothest, most talented guy.
I think the school is probably waiting for him to pay off his parking tickets.
He owes the bursar money.
Yeah, like
I've actually heard that before.
He created, like, he lived on West Campus. He would park his car wherever there was ground. Drive up onto the sidewalk and just leave it there for a day and a half. Come back, tickets all over the place. Nobody would dare tow Phil Booth's car, so it just wasn't happening. Spots that he shouldn't be parking in, like the do not park your spot next to a handicap spot, Phil's spot. Like, just not the best move to park there. But like, he probably owed so much money in parking tickets.
It's like, that's like 1 3-pointer should pay for that.
I know. It's funny. It's yeah.
So I watched the 85 title game like 100 times as a kid on VHS that I can essentially do the entire call, like essentially the whole second half. And I met Harold Jensen and his kids who were like maybe middle school. They were like old enough. And I was like, I want to go over and say hi. And I was like, I can tell you, I can say what the announcer said about your dad on TV. And I did it. And he was just like, okay, no one's ever done that one before. I was like, I just want to
understand. All right, weirdo.
I was like, the kid thought he could get a kick out of it. But I was like, your dad got the ball, and the guy said ice water in his veins. They gave him the shot, and he took it. And I was like, that like gives me chills. So I was like, it's very cool to meet the dude. I didn't know he wasn't the starter. Like, I'm surprised I didn't know that, but that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, I think he was a sophomore. I think.
Yeah, he was young because he played. Yeah. He played a couple more years.
Yeah.
Random aside, just like this has nothing to do with it. One of my buddies texted me during the show. Not about the show, but he texted me like, I'm going to he's a Knicks fan. I'm going to sit my kids down and they're going to watch how Josh Hart plays basketball. And the way the text came off, I was like, oh, Josh Hart must have had like a triple-double. I went to go look at his stats. Man has 4 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. And I was like, that's the Josh Hart experience. Like, I'm sure he literally impacted the game so much. Yeah. But it was like one of those things.
Is that the final?
Yeah, that's the final.
Okay.
I have a friend who really doesn't like Villanova, but told me Josh Hart. He's the only player I've ever watched that I don't think cares if he scores a basket or not. He's just doing everything else. He's actually had a way better career. This was prior to last year. He's like, than anyone has. He's like, every game I watch, he's so important.
Yeah.
And he had to leave the Eagles game early last night to play defense.
So funny.
That was a good interaction.
There's like he has a slight chance at the All-Star game this year.
Yeah, we talked about it. I think it depends on. I think we find out Thursday night. Player votes and everything come back.
I don't think it'll happen, but like
I don't think it will either. I think there has to be a few injuries for him to get there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like injury replacement maybe, but like they typically try to put younger and more exciting guys in than. You know how many rebounds Josh could have at an All-Star game. And Turtle tweeted, I'm glad the Knicks aren't winning the East because if Tibbs was coaching the All-Star game, Cat and Brunson would be playing 45 minutes.
Fair.
And if you throw Josh in, he's not coming out. But
He's still playing the most minutes of everybody.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
Josh has the most rebounds in the NBA in 2025 after Domantas Sabonis, who is 7 feet tall. And is like
is a weird way to say that.
Well, it's just the stat that I keep seeing. Like, I can't remember if it's for the season or just in the year 2025.
It's 2025 because season he's averaging like 10, which is insane as a guy who's like.
But in
conservatively 6'5",
the year of our Lord 2020, he's listed at 6'4" for NBA.com. But,
okay, cool.
Yeah, he second most rebounds in the league since the new year, which is wild.
Year of the Dragon.
Yeah. So we've been told.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I don't have too much else. I didn't do a random Wildcat of the week because I knew we were going to be going down memory lane for most of the show.
And we're not gonna podcast on Monday, the 3rd.
We are not.
Yeah. I wanted to get an answer to the Josh Hart minutes thing. He's 3rd. It's Bridges, Maxey, Hart. In minutes per game.
Yeah. The thing I was going to say about Josh is that, like someone like you, Brian, who like you look at how many teams Dante's been on, you're like, oh, well, you think must not be very, teams must not like him or whatever. It's Josh has been on all these teams that have orchestrated such insane trades, and he's always the throw-in because 1, his salary usually matches, and 2, teams want him. When they're like, he's been traded to 2 or 3 rebuilding teams before getting to the Knicks. And it was like, no, we want Josh included in this because he's going to help reset the culture and like be one of those guys that just like manufactures wins just by being in the right place at the right time and like forcing things to happen. So he's played on a bunch of teams, but it's not a bad thing is what I want to say.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Right, well,
probably the best teammate LeBron's ever had.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. All right, Willie, you want to take us out?
Yep. All right. So as we mentioned, just because being lost in there, we won't be on next week. We're gonna give this a little break, but we'll talk to y'all later. And as always, let's go Nova.
Yes! Yes! Wow!